Okay, so you're here to level up your brain power, right? To find those little shortcuts to sharper thinking.
Exactly those evidence-based hacks that actually make a difference.
Well, today we're diving deep into something surprisingly simple that could give your brain a serious edge.
Especially when you're hitting that wall, when your mental energy is just zapped.
We're talking about nature. Yep, gold, just good old-fashioned trees and grass and sunshine.
We've got a review here that pulls together 14 different studies all about how even brief encounters with nature,
Just little bursts of green can affect students' brains.
and not just little kids either. We're talking elementary school all the way up to university students.
Our mission today is to figure out if those quick nature breaks can really amp up our cognitive abilities.
Things like attention, focus, working memory, all those mental muscles we need for peak performance.
All right, so imagine this. You're feeling mentally drained. Your focus is totally shot.
This review suggests that just a 10-minute dose of nature could be like hitting the reset button on your brain.
10 minutes, that's all it might take?
And get this, it seems to work no matter what stage of learning you're at.
That's huge, because we all know how much our surroundings can affect our ability to learn and think.
Right, think about a noisy classroom or flickering lights or stuffy air.
Those things can totally sabotage your concentration.
Exactly. And this review actually highlights some pretty amazing long-term benefits of being around green spaces.
They talk about a study in Chicago where more trees around schools in low-income areas were linked to, you guessed it, better math scores,
That's right. And it wasn't just a one-off finding. There was a similar study in Toronto.
showing that schools with more greenery had students with better scores in reading, writing, and math.
There's even some research suggesting that growing up surrounded by nature could lead to higher earnings later in life.
Higher earnings. Wow, that's pretty wild.
It is, but what we're really zeroing in on today are those short-term effects, those immediate boosts we can get from just a few minutes in nature.
Yeah, if being around trees for years can have such a big impact, what's happening in those quick moments when we step outside?
Right. What's the mechanism at play here?
Well, one theory that might explain this is called attention restoration theory, or RT.
Developed by Kaplan.
RT. Okay, so break that down for us. What's the basic idea?
So RT says there are two main types of attention. First, there's involuntary attention,
That's the kind that just grabs you without you even trying.
like a bright color or a sudden movement. It's effortless.
And then there's directed attention.
That's the focused, effortful kind we use to concentrate on a task like reading a book or solving a problem.
Oh yeah, that's one that gets depleted after a long day staring at a screen.
Exactly. And RT suggests that natural environments can help us restore that depleted directed attention
By engaging our involuntary attention,
with what Kaplan calls soft fascination.
soft fascination. I like that. What does that mean exactly?
Think about the gentle sights and sounds of nature, the rustling leaves, the chirping birds, the dappled sunlight filtering through the trees.
It's engaging, but in a calming way that doesn't require intense focus.
Right. It gives our directed attention a chance to rest and recover.
Okay, so nature is like a spa day for our tired brains.
In a way, yes. And another theory that comes into play here is the stress reduction theory, or SRT.
Developed by Ulrich.
SRT focuses on how our bodies respond to stress. Now, we often think of stress as a purely mental thing,
Like when you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious.
but stress also triggers a whole cascade of physiological responses in our bodies.
Like increased heart rate and muscle tension.
Exactly. And SRT proposes that natural environments can help us recover from those stress responses,
By activating our parasympathetic nervous system.
which is our body's natural calm-down system.
So nature helps us chill out both mentally and physically.
Exactly. And it's likely that these two theories, RT and SRT, work together to explain why nature is so beneficial for our brains.
When we're stressed, our attention suffers, and when our attention is restored, we're better able to cope with stress.
It's a beautiful feedback loop.
Okay, but here's the key question for our listeners.
Yeah.
Why should we care about all this attention restoration and stress reduction?
Because those things have a huge impact on our ability to learn and perform at our best.
They're the foundation for all those higher-level cognitive skills we need to succeed.
Things like executive functions.
Executive functions, those sound important.
They are. They're basically the mental processes that allow us to plan, organize, and manage our thoughts and actions.
Like setting goals, making decisions, and staying focused.
Exactly. And those executive functions are closely tied to self-regulation.
Which is our ability to manage our emotions and impulses.
Right. Think about it when you're trying to learn something new or tackle a challenging task.
You need to be able to focus and ignore distractions and persevere even when it gets tough.
And that's where those executive functions and self-regulation come in.
So if nature can help us boost those abilities.
It can have a ripple effect on our learning and overall cognitive performance.
Okay, so we got the theory down.
Yeah.
Now let's get to the good stuff. What did these 14 studies actually find?
Well, the big takeaway is that in 12 out of those 14 studies, researchers saw clear cognitive benefits from short-term exposure to nature.
And we're talking across all educational levels,
Mhm.
from elementary school to university.
And here's the key. These were studies of what they called passive exposure to nature.
Meaning the students weren't actively learning about nature.
They were simply being in or viewing a natural setting.
And these little nature breaks range from just 10 minutes to about 90 minutes.
That's right. And in many of the studies, they intentionally induced mental fatigue in the students beforehand.
Either by giving them challenging tasks or just through the normal mental exertion of a school day.
And that's important because it suggests that nature's restorative effects are most noticeable when we're already feeling mentally drained.
So if you're hitting that afternoon slump, a quick nature break could be just what you need to recharge.
Okay, so let's dive into some specific examples of these studies, starting with elementary school.
All right, let's see how this plays out for the younger kids.
One study by Berto and colleagues looked at 4th and 5th graders, and they compared how the kids did on an attention test.
After different activities.
Some kids had mindful silence in the classroom, some played in the school courtyard, and some took a walk in the woods.
Then,
The results were pretty clear. The kids who took a walk in the woods performed better and responded faster on the attention test.
so just a 10-minute walk in the woods gave them a measurable cognitive boost.
Exactly. And the kids even reported that the woods felt more restorative than the other settings.
Interesting. So nature isn't just nice to be around, it actually has a real impact on our brains.
Another study by Amicone and a team in 2018 compared breaks in a schoolyard garden to breaks in the regular built courtyard.
Yeah.
They found that only the garden breaks led to improvements in sustained and selective attention as measured by something called the Bell's test.
The Bell's test, what's that?
It's a test where students have to identify and mark specific target symbols among distractors, so it measures their ability to focus and ignore irrelevant information.
Ah, I see. So it's testing their ability to stay on task.
Exactly. And they also saw improvements in working memory after the garden breaks.
So even a small green space within the school grounds can make a difference.
Now let's move up to secondary school. A 2016 study by Lay and Sullivan looked at high school students in classrooms with different views.
Different views from their windows.
Some classrooms had no windows, some looked out at built landscapes, and some had views of green landscapes.
Yeah.
What they found was that the students with those green views performed significantly better on digit span tests after a break.
Digit span tests, what are those?
Those tests measure working memory capacity by seeing how many numbers someone can hold in their mind and recall.
Okay, so the students with the nature views had better working memory.
Exactly. And that was compared to students with no view or O view of buildings.
So even just seeing nature seems to have a positive effect.
Right. You don't even have to be physically immersed in it.
Another study from 2018 by Wallner and colleagues had high school students spend time in different types of urban green spaces.
A small park, a larger park, and a forest.
And did they find any differences?
Across the board, all 3 green spaces led to improvements on an attention test.
So whether it's a manicured park or a wild forest, it seems to have a positive impact.
Exactly. Now, what about university students? Does this effect hold up at higher levels of education?
Good question. Let's see what the research says.
Well, a classic study from 1991 by Hardig and colleagues compared different types of breaks for university students.
What kind of breaks?
Some students took a walk in a park, some took a walk in an urban environment, and some just read in a lab.
And what did they find?
The students who took the park walk made significantly fewer errors on a proofreading task afterward.
So being in nature actually improved their performance on a task that requires sustained attention.
Exactly, and they also reported feeling happier and less stressed.
Okay, so another win for nature.
There's also a 2008 study by Berman and his team that compared a walk in an arboretum to a walk in a downtown area.
Yeah.
The nature walk led to greater improvements in directed attention measured by a backward digit span test.
Backward digit span test. That sounds even harder than the regular digit span test.
It's a more challenging version that really taxes your working memory.
Interesting. And was there any research on whether simulated nature experiences could have similar effects?
Yes, a 2019 study by Crossan and Salmoni used a simulated nature walk on a 180-degree video screen.
Oh, like a virtual reality nature experience.
Kind of, and Even with this simulated nature, they saw improvements in performance on the backward digit span test.
Compared to a regular walk or a simulated walk that was designed to be more mentally taxing.
So even when real nature isn't readily available, there might be some benefit to these virtual experiences.
That's good news for people who live in cities or don't have easy access to green spaces.
Now, it's important to note that the review also highlighted some key conditions for observing these cognitive benefits.
What kind of conditions?
Well, the biggest one seems to be that the benefits were generally seen when the students were already experiencing some level of mental fatigue.
Like we talked about earlier.
Exactly. The two studies that didn't find significant benefits didn't explicitly induce mental fatigue beforehand.
So it seems like nature is particularly effective at helping us recover when we're already feeling drained.
Right, it's like a restorative boost rather than an enhancer.
Makes sense. Were there any other interesting findings?
Yes, they found that shorter tests of attention and memory seem to be more sensitive to picking up these immediate restorative effects.
So the benefits might be more noticeable on tasks that require quick thinking and focus.
And there's some evidence that light physical activity, like walking while being in nature, might enhance the benefits.
Compared to just sitting in a green space.
So that lunchtime stroll in the park might be doing double duty for you.
Interesting. Now, were there any cognitive skills that didn't seem to get a boost from these short nature exposures?
Yes, the review mentioned that studies looking at inhibition in elementary school students didn't show improvement after short nature breaks.
Inhibition, that's our ability to resist distractions and control our impulses.
Right, and this suggests that maybe longer-term engagement with nature or different types of natural activities might be needed to impact that specific executive function.
So it's not a magic bullet for every cognitive skill, but the evidence for its positive impact on attention and working memory is pretty compelling.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. What are the key takeaways for our listeners? What does all this research mean for us in our daily lives?
The most practical takeaway is that taking short green breaks is a simple and effective way to refresh your attention.
Whether you're a student facing a mountain of homework or a professional tackling a demanding project,
Or just anyone who's feeling mentally drained.
a few minutes spent in nature, even just looking at some trees out the window, could make a real difference.
And as we saw with the simulated nature study, even when real nature isn't accessible, there might be ways to tap into those benefits.
So if you're hitting that mental wall, try stepping outside for a few minutes or even just looking at some nature photos.
It's not just a nice break, it could be a powerful cognitive tool.
Absolutely. And this research also raises some interesting questions for future studies.
Like, do these short-term improvements in attention translate into better performance on real-world tasks?
Like getting better grades or being more productive at work.
Yeah. And could learning activities done outdoors be less mentally draining in the first place?
That's a fascinating thought. Could we actually make learning more sustainable by bringing it out into nature?
It's definitely worth exploring. Future research could also look into the ideal duration and frequency of these nature breaks.
To maximize those cognitive benefits.
It's a really exciting area of study.
So to sum it all up for our listeners, the core message from this deep dive is this. Even brief passive encounters with nature can significantly refresh your attention and working memory.
Those foundational cognitive skills that are essential for learning problem solving and just navigating our complex world.
And the best part is, this isn't some expensive or complicated solution. It's often a free and readily available resource that you can easily incorporate into your day.
Whether you're a student, a professional, or just someone who wants to stay mentally sharp.
So think about your own daily routine, your study habits, your work life. How could you intentionally build in those little doses of nature to boost your focus and cognitive stamina?
Maybe it's taking a different route to work that goes through a park, or simply making a point to look out the window at some greenery for a minute or two every hour.
It's definitely worth experimenting with, and who knows, it might even inspire you to explore the green spaces in your community.
Or even look into the principles of biophilic design, which is all about bringing nature into our built environments.
Food for thought indeed. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the power of nature.
It's been a pleasure.
And until our next exploration, keep those minds sharp and maybe take a little walk in the woods. You never know what insights might blossom.
That's great advice.
We'll see you next time.
Bye for now.